Hello and welcome to the Acro Index. This is an acrobatic index card and this is what you received in a 4x6 case. Keep the case because it will make it last longer, and we'll get back to the case in a little bit with some ideas I have for this. I love these things for gimmicks. So this is your gimmick, which is pretty awesome. It opens at the top. And it comes blank, so you can write whatever you want on it, but as you can see, you get the exposure right on this just changed. So this is the dumbest version of the trick, but what I'm going to do is walk you through quickly how to fill it in. So don't fill it in yet, even though you want to. I mean, if you want to play with it, you can practice the different changes in stuff, but what I want you to do first is see how to fill it in. Now, because it has lines, the seam is more invisible, and also there's one more line of thinking that went into this seam. Now you're probably wondering, why does the gimmick open up? Why does it open up when it would actually be faster and gravity would help down? Lighting and deceptiveness. I don't think anybody's ever made an acro and an index card with a line with it going up, because it doesn't make sense unless you think about lighting. So watch the seam in the middle. See how you can't see that seam at all. Now watch what happens when you turn the gimmick upside down. See that shadow? No matter how you turn your gimmick, you got a thick line down the middle. That's because in 99.9% of situations, you are always top lit. Unless you're on stage and you have lighting below you shining up, that's the only way to make that shadow disappear. So the thinking I had is, why not turn the whole thing upside down? And now look at the seam. Bah! That's the coolest part about this. So that's why the seam is the way it is. Now, if you want to use gravity to help you, you can always, in the act of activating it, turn it down to get it to go a little bit faster, but just for that moment. So that's why the seam is in the middle. That is why it goes up instead of down, because I don't like shadows and I like this card to be more deceptive. So I think that is pretty freaking deceptive. So grab your gimmick, the blank one, and just know that whenever it's closed, that's the final position, and then just pull it down. If you don't know which way is down when it's blank, just kind of lightly rub your finger back and forth across the top, and one way will pull open. So because the gimmick has lines, it helps you print really clearly. If you want to erase and make many different things on your card, or try a couple of routines first, just use pencil. Just use a pencil really lightly and draw whatever you want on the gimmick. Maybe try the routine in the mirror, videotape it, try it for a few friends, and if it works really well, then go over it in Sharpie. Or if you're confident in your idea, I still would write it in pencil first. I would write it lightly in pencil and then trace it with a Sharpie if you want, or whatever marker you want. Now, the one thing that's difficult, notoriously, with writing on an acrobatic card is writing across the seam. That is very difficult. I don't really have tons of tips on that except do it slowly. So if you were to want to write something on the middle seam, you would pop it down and you'd have that bump to deal with right there, that bump in the middle. So how I avoid that whenever I use these is, especially on the side with the bump, I try to do at least 2 words or space out the text on top and bottom. So that way you don't have to write on the bump, which is nice. Now at the end, when it closes, that's perfectly flat, so it's very easy to draw over the seam. Now if you want to draw over the seam for the first one, it is possible, it's just difficult. What I would recommend doing is, again, can't stress it enough, pencil first, kind of check your angles on what the pencil looks like, and if you want it to be in thick Sharpie, I would do thin Sharpie first and slowly build up the design. I wouldn't write it quickly, because when you write over the bump, there will be visible tells that you did that. So that's how you kind of write whatever you want on the gimmick. You can write on both sides, which is nice. And again, pencil means you can erase it and make as many as you want. So what I'm going to go over now, that if you want, you can pause it and fill in your stuff. Or actually, wait, if you wait till the very end, I will give you some routine ideas. Maybe you want to hear those first before you commit to what you're writing on your card. So you can just practice the change with me here alone watching this video without there being anything on your card until we get to the end. So my favorite change to use with these is you pull it down and I just grip it with my thumb on the bottom. If I were to slowly open my thumb, it would open the gimmick. So I have my fingers on top, thumb on bottom, and I do a slight shake up and down. Because of the lines in the card, it really helps cover the action. And if you can release your thumb on the upswing, it makes it really change fast. There's a slight sound, but you can cover the sound with your thumb if someone's up close to you, so they don't hear a flap sound. Or you can just do it more slowly, and then it doesn't make as much of a sound. So that's my favorite. Again, just practice holding your thumb, your fingers on top, and shaking. And as you're shaking, you're just going to release the grip of the thumb and then close the grip on your fingers up top. You don't want to just do this and keep shaking, because you might get that to happen. So to get that to avoid happening when it comes up, just curl your fingers down and that locks it in place. Another way to handle it is when it's loaded, is just with your thumb and index finger, and it helps your deceptiveness if you always kind of keep the card tilted back a little bit. If you tip it forward at all, they're looking into the gimmick, and you don't want that. Even though it's a blue line, it just looks like a thick blue line. So either keep it straight on to your spectator if you're performing at eye level, or what's nice is if you perform at restaurants or if they're seated, they're looking like this. So you're golden on the angles. And I would avoid a side angle for too long. You can turn the gimmick around if you keep it moving, but I wouldn't kind of stand and talk like this, because they might see that bump, which you want to avoid. So you can hold it there, and then I just transfer my grip to the side, and then my grip right here, and then shake it, and it changes like that. Another classic way is to throw the card in the air, and it changes mid-air. Now with a playing card, this is difficult because you're looking at this, and usually you don't know what the orientation is of the card, but this is a note card, so you know that the red line is up. So if you ever throw the card, so you have it activated and you throw it, it will change. When you catch it like this, you know you've caught it correctly, and you show it as a big reveal. You don't want to do this because you'd be like, yeah, look at that. So what you want is to activate it, you want to throw it, catch it, and then show it at the end. So if you catch it upside down, you know, you can either just go like this and rotate, or you can go like this, you can go like this, you can go like that. Basically just try to smoothly show the card face up. Just by looking at the back, you're looking for that red line. You want it up, and that means your reveal is up. So those are my two favorite ones, is again just shaking it, which causes it to change, or throwing it up in the air, catching it, and showing the reveal that way. You can do other things, like just by throwing the card onto your hand like this. You can actually change it both ways. So because it's a pretty thick card, this is locked, and I can actually wave my hand over the gimmick and get it to change, and then get it to change back. So how I'm doing that, I'll move the camera, is if you just change it, you get ready a little bit, and my fingers are just opening the gimmick. So what that looks like from the front, though, is pretty cool. So early release, if I just wave my hand over it, it changes to Black Friday, but just as quickly as it changes back. So you can kind of do that idea too, which is kind of cool. You can do it as you're turning the card over. So it says Black Friday, it says this, and it says early release. So these are just some ideas, but basically as you're turning the card over, you're changing it. So you see three sides of a card: Black Friday, blank, early release. Three sides, which is kind of trippy. If you buy two of them, you technically, I guess, could attach them. Hold on. You could attach them and lock both. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It might be overkill, but just spitballing. So you can play with that a little bit. Again, this one's kind of fun. Whenever you throw it and try to catch it, One tip is practice over a bed or a soft area, because you don't want to drop the gimmick, because it is paper, and if you hit the corners, it will kind of destroy it pretty quickly. Another reason why I gave each of you one of these nice plastic holders, I would store your gimmick in here, or some sort of sleeve or hard area, because you don't want it to bend or warp. And a way to help catch it is practice over a bed or a soft pillow, throwing it when it's just locked, so just throw it. And I would catch it with both hands, like you're catching it lightly. You're not death gripping it in case you get it wrong. So just practice throwing it up in the air and catching it a few times, and then open it and throw it and catch it, throw it and catch it. And then if you want, I would practice throwing and catching with one hand. So basically just build up in difficulty. Don't go for the most difficult one right off the bat. And then at the end, whenever you do change it, remember that it's locked up top. So try to hold it at the top when you're showing the card around at the end. If you hold it at the bottom and you're showing it around, it might flap open, which you don't want. So I would hold it here and show it around. So those are some handling ideas. Up and down or circles is kind of cool too, which is nice. I think this is a pretty cool idea where you change it back. So a bunch of ideas for you to spark your imagination. One quick routine would be that you have it ending and it says ace of spades, ace of, and then spades down here, and then lock this down and have it say your card, okay? And then keep this note card in your pocket, or in your wallet, or in the plastic sleeve. And you say, I've got a prediction here. I'm gonna put this down. You force the ace of spades, and then right before you show it, pull this down and say, would you be impressed if I wrote down your card? Your card. And you get the joke. And they're like, oh, that's funny, but I picked the ace of spades. You're like, well, I actually knew that too, because I wrote ace of spades. There you go. So there's that. If you want to have this examined, you would need to switch it. Any gimmick is examinable if you know a good switch. My favorite way of switching things is out of sight, out of mind. Like just out of sight, out of mind. You move it away and then bring it back. So I would have a regular note card that said ace of spades in my jacket or in my pocket. It would say your card. I'd change it to the ace of spades, do the reveal, put this in my pocket and say turn over the card you picked. Show everybody the ace of spades. Yeah, it's amazing. Oh, did you want to keep it? And then I'd pull the card back out and now it's a regular one and they can keep it. If you want to get into some crazy fancy switches, I would look into some card switches like a top change. David Williamson has amazing work on the top change. If you had a stack of note cards, again, this is a note card, so you could use this with any card routine you can think of, but now it's a stack of note cards, which is kind of cool. And if you have it written on with pencil on either side by your spectator, then you can just erase it and reuse the gimmick, which is cool. And then the reason why this whole thing was even invented was I'm obsessed with this trick of Dyson Men by David Stone, which was inspired by Andy Nyman's routine with hug kill. And so I love this trick. Basically, the spectator picks 1 and 6, and then it says hug, and when you go to hug them, you reveal that the other 5 options say kill. I won't go into how that works. You can purchase that effect, and you would need to purchase that effect if you wanted to use these gimmicks for that trick. This is just a nice touch for that. But if you kept your case and you bought 6 of these, now this is an investment, I know that, but if you bought 6 of these cases, then you could walk out on stage with this, okay? These are all the cases just kind of taped together, and on this side of every note card, you could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you could have all of them locked. So if you turned it around right now, they would all say kiss, kill, punch, high five, whatever you want. And any time, so let's say this one is the one they picked. So this would say the number 2 on one side, and on the other side, it would say locked let's say we're doing the David Stone routine, it would say kill. So this says kill right here. All of them say kill because they're all locked. And you ask the spectator to name any number 1 through 6. And they say 2. You say, okay, number 2. And the audience sees this, and you just pull this out fairly. But from behind, when you pull this out, it will change from the word kill to the word hug. So now you can show everybody the word hug. And when you go to hug them, you have a really nice display of 5 different words that say kill, or whatever you want to use that for. You could also use this type of setup for just a force, which is nice. So this could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 different words written on the back of these. Name a number. Number 3. And you pull out number 3, and you show that it says potato. And you turn all of these around, and it says apple, banana, orange, all these other things. But all of them can turn into the word potato as soon as you take it out. So this is just a nice way, and it doesn't have to be 6. 6 is just the number on size on a die. You could have 10 of these. It'd be kind of long. You could have 4 or 3 or 7 or 8. It's totally up to you. But if you have all of them locked in place, you can show that they're all different. Once you pull this out and it changes, now you've forced that word, and all the rest look different. And what's nice about this is I have one of these set up for the hug kill trick, and now this trick fits in your bag or in your back pocket, and you can walk out on stage during your show or at a comedy club or at school and have a really great stage trick literally in your back pocket, just by walking out and showing all the cards, pulling them out. Now if you wanted to pull them out, I would probably shave your case down to a more precise size, and you can even do a little like half moon cutout so that it's easy to pull the gimmick out. Now the final thing I will say, especially if you make something like this, always store your gimmick closed. So what I mean by that is I would consider this open and this closed. Keep it closed, because if you keep it open, you're stretching out the elastic that's in the middle, and it won't be as fast. So if you want to keep it fast and quick over time, I would just keep it closed, keep it flat, and press. That's where these cases are nice, because it keeps it in good condition, keep it away from wet areas like humidity, which is nice as well. So there's a ton of ideas for a simple little gimmick, and one full routine in there. Force the ace of spades, do the old joke, your card, and change it into the ace of spades. Over the next few weeks, months, years, if I have more ideas for these things, a good place to find me doing them will be on Instagram. And now that you know how the gimmick works, if you see a cool use on Instagram for it, you can do it yourself too, because now you own one of these, or more of them. I honestly would recommend buying as many as you want or can. Test out your ideas with pencil first, and then once you have them finalized, make them in Sharpie so it reads better from far away, and then buy more of them if you want to use multiple routines or have multiple outs, which is nice. So thank you so much for purchasing Acro Index. I hope you have as much fun with it as I do, and until next time, thanks.